Lieutenant Sarah Martinez stepped from the transport helicopter onto Naval Base Coronado's dusty training grounds. The California sun glared down fiercely as she checked her tactical gear and studied the obstacle course ahead. At 28, she had already overcome challenges most people only imagined. Her path to this moment had been far from typical. Growing up in a small Iowa farming town, Sarah was the child of a mechanic and a school teacher. Her father, Miguel Martinez, arrived from Mexico with nothing but a strong will and the readiness to work 18. Her mother, Rebecca, a former college athlete, taught high school math and coached the girls' soccer team. From a young age, Sarah showed a rare mix of physical strength and mental toughness. While other girls played with dolls or watched cartoons, Sarah climbed trees, built obstacle courses in her yard, and wrestled neighborhood boys. Her parents initially worried about her tomboy nature, but soon realized their daughter was special. During her second year of high school, Sarah's life took a big turn. A military recruiter visited her school on career day, and his talk deeply affected her. The recruiter spoke of serving, honor, and pushing past limits. That evening, Sarah told her surprised parents she planned to join the military after graduation. Her father first resisted, recalling his own tough experiences with authority during his youth in Mexico. Her mother, though, saw the fire in Sarah's eyes, recognizing the same drive that fueled her own sports success. After months of family talks and looking into military options for women, Sarah's parents gave their hesitant support. College came first, however. Sarah earned a full sports scholarship to play soccer at the University of Iowa, where she also studied international relations. In her first year, she joined the Reserve Officers Training Corps program, quickly proving herself a natural leader. Her professors noted her excellent analysis skills, while her ROTC trainers were impressed by her physical abilities and smart tactical thinking. The real change happened during her third year when Sarah attended a talk by a former Navy SEAL. Commander James Wilson spoke about the elite unit's global missions, its tough training, and the mental strength needed to succeed in the military's hardest settings. As he described what it took for special operations, Sarah felt he was talking about her own hopes. After the lecture, Sarah asked Commander Wilson about chances for women in special operations. At that time, women weren't officially allowed in Navy SEAL teams, but Wilson saw something unique in the young woman. He suggested Sarah look into other special ops roles open to women, but also mentioned that rules were slowly changing. Sarah's college years became a time of intense preparation. She kept up her excellent grades while pushing her physical training to new heights. She learned several languages, studied military history and tactics, and sought out the toughest physical activities possible. Rock climbing, running marathons, martial arts, and even amateur boxing became part of her routine. Her dedication did not go unnoticed. In her final year, a Navy recruiting officer, who had heard about her outstanding ROTC performance and athletic wins, approached Sarah. The Navy was starting to explore roles for women in areas previously closed, and Sarah's profile made her perfect for their test program. After graduating with high honors in international relations, Sarah became an ensign in the United States Navy. Her first posting was to Naval Station Norfolk, where she worked as an intelligence officer on a guided missile destroyer. The ship's deployment gave her valuable experience in naval operations and international waters. During her 18-month deployment, Sarah's ship took part in several joint operations with special forces. She saw firsthand how Navy SEALs worked and coordinated with regular naval forces. Her intelligence duties brought her into contact with SEAL team leaders, and she impressed them with her analytical skills and understanding of tactics. When Sarah returned from deployment, she learned the Navy had officially opened SEAL training to women as part of a new integration effort. The announcement caused big reactions across the military, with views ranging from strong support to doubtful opposition. Sarah knew right away this was the chance she had prepared for her whole life. The application process was brutal. Fitness tests, psychological checks, medical exams, and deep background investigations all had to be completed. Sarah's bosses were at first slow to recommend her for SEAL training, not because they doubted her skills, but because they understood the huge difficulties she would face, as one of the first women to try the program. Commander Patricia Hayes, Sarah's direct supervisor, became an unexpected guide during this time. Hayes herself had broken barriers as one of the first women to serve on combat ships. She recognized Sarah's potential, but also understood the special pressures female pioneers in military roles faced. The psychological evaluation proved one of the hardest parts of the selection process. Navy psychologists wanted to be sure candidates could handle not only the physical demands of SEAL training, but also the mental stress of constantly being watched as representatives of their gender. Sarah spent hours in interviews talking about her reasons, her ways of coping, and her long-term career goals. Dr. Michael Thompson, the head psychologist for the SEAL selection program, was initially unsure about women in combat roles. However, his talks with Sarah slowly changed his mind. Her answers showed a mental toughness and awareness that impressed even seasoned special operations veterans. The physical fitness tests were designed to remove candidates who lacked the basic physical ability for SEAL training. Sarah had been getting ready for these tests for months, working with personal trainers skilled in military fitness. The rules were the same for men and women, with no special breaks given for gender differences. Swimming had always been Sarah's best physical skill. Growing up near an Iowa lake, she had spent countless summer hours in the water and had even thought about competitive swimming in college. The SEAL swimming demands, however, were much harder than anything she had known. Candidates had to show skill in many swim strokes while wearing full gear, complete underwater distance swimming, and perform water survival tricks under pressure. The running part of the physical tests pushed Sarah to her limit. The required times for long-distance running were tough, and the tests were done in full gear over difficult ground. Sarah's soccer background had given her great heart and lung fitness, but the weight of military equipment and the brutal pace of the tests demanded a new level of physical readiness. Strength tests turned out to be Sarah's biggest challenge. While she had trained hard with weights and body exercises, the upper body strength needed for SEAL candidates was huge. Pull-ups, rope climbing, and carrying heavy loads tested muscles that even her intense training hadn't fully prepared. Despite the physical difficulties, Sarah's performance on the fitness tests put her among the top candidates, no matter their gender. Her swimming scores were outstanding, her running times were as good as the best male candidates, and she managed to meet the strength requirements despite natural body differences. The final step in the selection process was an interview panel made up of active SEAL team leaders, training instructors, and senior Navy officers. This panel had the final say on whether candidates were approved or rejected for the training program. Sarah knew this interview would decide if her years of preparation would lead to the chance she had dreamed of. As she waited outside the interview room at Naval Base Coronado, Sarah thought about the journey that brought her here. From a small Iowa farm town to the doorstep of the world's most elite military training, every step had demanded she prove that gender did not limit ability or determination. The interview lasted 2 hours. Panel members asked Sarah about her motivations, her understanding of SEAL team dynamics, her readiness for the mental challenges of training, and her long-term commitment to special operations service. They questioned her answers closely, looking for any signs of doubt or unrealistic ideas about what was ahead. 3 weeks later, Sarah received the phone call that would change her life. She had been accepted into the Navy SEAL training program. The voice on the other end belonged to Master Chief Petty Officer Robert Stevens, who would be her senior instructor during the first parts of training. His tone was professional but friendly as he explained the reporting date and initial rules. Sarah's acceptance into SEAL training made national news. She became an instant symbol of military gender integration, whether she wanted that role or not. Interviews with reporters, questions from family and friends, and opinions from military experts all focused on her gender rather than her skills. The attention was both encouraging and overwhelming. Her parents were both proud and scared. They understood how important their daughter's achievement was, but worried about the physical and emotional struggles she would face. Her father, who had first been against her military goals, now showed complete trust in her ability. Her mother began researching everything she could find about SEAL training to better understand what her daughter would go through. The weeks before her report date were filled with last-minute preparation. Sarah continued her hard physical training while also studying military tactics, naval operations, and team dynamics. She read everything available about SEAL history, famous missions, and training methods. She wanted to be as ready as possible for what everyone agreed would be an extraordinary test of human stamina and willpower. Friends and family held a farewell party before Sarah left for Coronado. The event was a mix of happiness and sadness, as everyone understood that the young woman they were celebrating might return deeply changed by her experiences. Military training, especially at the SEAL level, had a way of transforming people in ways hard to predict or understand. As Sarah packed her bags for California, she carried not only her personal items, but also the hopes and expectations of everyone who believed that ability should be judged by performance, not gender. She also carried the doubts of those who questioned whether any woman could meet the demands of the world's toughest military training. The first day of basic underwater demolition SEAL training began gray and cold along the California coast. Sarah arrived at the training center at 5:00 a.m., joining 23 other candidates who had passed the tough selection process. As she looked at her fellow trainees, she noticed their mix of curiosity and doubt. She was not just another candidate, she was the woman who had made headlines just by being there. Master Chief Stevens called the group to attention in front of the training building. The building looked harmless from the outside, but Sarah knew that inside its walls lay some of the military's most challenging training situations ever created. The Master Chief's voice cut through the morning air with the authority of someone who had spent decades in special operations. The first briefing was simple but scary. Stevens explained that over the next 26 weeks, candidates would be pushed beyond their perceived limits in every way possible. Physical endurance, mental toughness, teamwork, leadership and technical skills would all be tested constantly. The numbers were grim. Historically, fewer than 25% of candidates successfully finished the program. Sarah's fellow candidates came from diverse military backgrounds. Some were fresh from college ROTC program. Others were experienced enlisted personnel seeking to advance, and several were officers changing from other military specialties. Ages ranged from early 20s to mid-30s, and education varied from high school graduates to advanced degree holder. Among the group was Petty Officer Jake Morrison, a former college football player from Texas, who had spent 3 years as a Navy rescue swimmer. His physical presence was impressive, and his confidence showed in every move. During introductions, he made no effort to hide his doubts about women in SEAL training, though he avoided openly biased remarks. Another notable candidate was Lieutenant Kevin Chen, a Naval Academy graduate whose family had moved from Taiwan when he was young. Chen's academic background in engineering and his experience with underwater systems made him a natural fit for the technical parts of SEAL training. His quiet manner hid a fiercely competitive nature that would become clear during team exercise. Ensign Marcus Williams brought a different view to the group. As one of the few African American candidates, he understood breaking barriers and facing skepticism based on things beyond his control. Williams had grown up in inner-city Detroit and saw military service as a way to opportunities that might otherwise be unavailable. His street smarts and natural leadership quickly earned respect from other candidates. The first weeks of training focused on basic military skills that all special operations personnel needed to master. Physical conditioning sessions began before dawn each day with running, swimming and body exercises, pushing every candidate to their limit. Sarah's preparation helped her during these early challenges, and she consistently performed in the top group. Weapons training taught candidates about the firearms and explosives they would use in real situations. Sarah's sharp mind helped her excel in the classroom parts of weapons training, where candidates learned about ballistics, explosives theory and weapon care. On the firing range, her steady hands and patience made her one of the most accurate shooters in the class. The swimming pool became Sarah's territory. Her natural comfort in the water allowed her to master complex underwater moves that challenged even strong swimmers among her teammates. During pool exercises, candidates had to show they could work underwater while wearing full gear, fixing equipment problems and handling emergency situations. One particular pool exercise became a key moment for Sarah's relationship with her fellow candidate. The drill involved buddy breathing underwater, where two candidates shared one breathing device while completing a complex underwater navigation course. Sarah was paired with Morrison, the former football player who had expressed doubts about women in the program. Midway through the exercise, Morrison's equipment broke, leaving both candidates depending on Sarah's air supply. The situation needed exact coordination, calm decision-making and complete trust between partners. Sarah guided Morrison through the rest of the course, managing their shared air and navigating underwater obstacles while communicating through hand signals. When they surfaced at the finish point, Morrison's opinion of Sarah had completely changed. The experience of relying on her skills and judgment in a potentially deadly situation had shown her abilities more clearly than any argument or discussion could have. From that day forward, Morrison became one of Sarah's strongest supporters within the candidate group. The land navigation exercises tested candidates' ability to move through unknown areas using maps and compasses. These exercises were done in the mountains east of San Diego, where candidates had to find specific checkpoints while carrying full combat load. The land was tough, with steep hills, thick plants and loose rocky ground that made every step dangerous. Sarah's soccer background had given her excellent stamina and speed, but the weight of military equipment and the unforgiving terrain created new difficulties. During one particularly hard exercise, she found herself struggling to keep up with some of the bigger, stronger candidates. As she got tired, she had to rely on mental toughness and efficient movement to finish the course within the required time. Chen proved to be a valuable teammate during land navigation exercises. His careful way of reading maps and planning routes matched Sarah's physical abilities and determination. Together they developed effective ways to share the load and keep spirits high during the hardest parts of the exercises. The academic parts of SEAL training required candidates to learn a huge range of technical subjects. Courses in explosives, communications, medical procedures, sea operations and intelligence gathering demanded intense study and practical use. Sarah's college education and natural analytical skills served her well in these classroom settings. Medical training was especially tough, as SEAL candidates had to learn to provide emergency medical care in combat situations. The lessons covered everything from basic first aid to complex battlefield surgery. Candidates practiced on medical simulators and later on live tissue exercises that tested their ability to work under extreme stress. During one medical training scenario, candidates had to treat fake injuries while under simulated enemy fire. Instructors used firecrackers, loud noises, and time pressure to create realistic stress. Sarah's performance during these exercises was outstanding, as her ability to handle stress and focus on immediate tasks proved vital in medical emergencies. The first big evaluation point in SEAL training was the infamous Hell Week, a 5.5-day period of continuous physical and mental challenges designed to find candidates with the resilience needed for special operations. Lack of sleep, constant physical activity, exposure to cold water, and relentless pressure from instructors created an environment unlike anything most candidates had ever experienced. Hell Week began on a Sunday evening with the sound of gunfire and explosions going off around the candidate barracks. Instructors shouted orders while candidates rushed to get dressed and line up. The chaos was on purpose, meant to copy the confusion and stress of combat situations, while testing candidates' ability to work on The first night involved a series of physical challenges done on the beach and in the ocean way. Candidates did exercises in the sand, carried heavy logs as teams, and completed obstacle courses, while instructors constantly yelled criticism and demanded better performance. The cold Pacific Ocean became a constant partner as candidates were regularly ordered into the waves to perform exercises in the freezing water. Sarah's smaller body made her more likely to get hypothermia than some of her larger teammates. As her body temperature dropped, she started to experience the first signs of confusion from the cold. Williams, who was sitting next to her in the surf line, noticed her condition and helped keep her awake through talking and sharing body warmth. The bond formed that night in the surf created a lasting friendship between Sarah and Williams. They had literally kept each other alive through one of Hell Week's most dangerous parts, and both understood that their success depended on supporting each other through the remaining challenge. Wednesday brought a series of timed runs and obstacle courses that tested candidates' ability to maintain performance standards despite extreme tiredness. Sarah's heart and lung fitness helped her during these challenges, and she consistently finished in the top part of the group. Her times were competitive with the best male candidates, silencing critics who suggested that gender-based performance differences would stop her success. The log exercises on Wednesday afternoon required boat crews to work together to move heavy logs through obstacle courses. The logs weighed several hundred pounds and needed coordinated effort from all team members to lift, carry, and move through tight spaces. Sarah's team had developed excellent communication and coordination skills, allowing them to complete these challenges efficiently despite their individual size differences. Thursday's challenges focused on teamwork and leadership under stress. Candidates rotated through leadership roles during various exercises, with instructors evaluating their ability to make decisions, communicate effectively, and motivate their teammates. When Sarah's turn as team leader arrived, she found herself guiding her boat crew through a complex obstacle course under time pressure and constant instructor criticism. Her leadership style was quite different from many of her male peers. Instead of loud shouts and aggression, Sarah used clear communication, shared problem-solving, and calm confidence to lead her team. Her approach was at first met with doubt from instructors who were used to more traditional military leadership. However, her team's performance under her leadership was outstanding. They finished the obstacle course faster than any other boat crew, and did so without injuries or damaged equipment. The instructor's post-exercise review recognized her effective leadership, while noting that different situations might call for different leadership styles. By Friday morning, only 60% of the original candidates remained in training. The combination of physical demands, lack of sleep, and constant stress had eliminated many candidates who had seemed well prepared at the start of the week. Sarah remained among the survivors, though she was physically and mentally more exhausted than she had ever been. The final challenge of Hell Week was a timed run from the training facility to the Hotel del Coronado, a distance of over 4 miles through sand and surf. Candidates had to complete the run within a specific time limit while carrying full gear. The run served as both a final physical test and a symbolic step from Hell Week back to regular training. As Sarah crossed the finish line within the required time, she realized she had achieved something many people believed impossible. She had not only survived Hell Week, but had also shown leadership, physical ability, and mental toughness that earned respect from instructors and fellow candidates alike. The young woman, who had grown up in rural Iowa, had proven that determination and preparation could overcome any obstacle. The Hell Week completion ceremony was short, but meaningful. Master Chief Stevens addressed the surviving candidates, acknowledging their achievement while reminding them that Hell Week was only the start of their SEAL training journey. The most challenging and dangerous parts of the program still lay ahead. 6 months after Hell Week, Lieutenant Sarah Martinez stood at the edge of the training compound's main assembly area, watching as a new group of SEAL training candidates arrived for their first day. The sight brought back memories of her own nervousness and excitement when she had first stepped off the transport helicopter. Now, as one of only 12 survivors from her original class of 24, she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had proven herself in the world's most demanding military training. The advanced phases of SEAL training had tested Sarah in ways that Hell Week had only hinted at. Combat diving operations in murky waters with zero visibility, long-range scouting missions in hostile territory, and complex hostage rescue scenarios had all pushed her abilities to new levels. Each phase had brought new challenges and chances to show that gender was unimportant when measuring ability and dedication. During the sea operations phase, Sarah had distinguished herself as one of the most skilled combat divers in her class. The underwater navigation exercises required candidates to swim long distances underwater while carrying heavy equipment and following precise compass direction. Sarah's natural comfort in the water and her analytical approach to problem-solving made her exceptionally effective in these tough environments. One particular diving exercise had cemented her reputation among instructors and fellow candidates. The scenario involved a nighttime entry into a simulated enemy harbor, where candidates had to navigate underwater obstacles, place explosive charges on target vessels, and exit without being detected. The exercise was done in San Diego Bay, where strong currents, poor visibility, and actual boat traffic created realistic conditions. Sarah's team was given the hardest target, a vessel anchored in the deepest part of the harbor with the strongest current. The approach needed exact underwater navigation over nearly 2 miles, followed by the technical challenge of placing explosives on a moving target while avoiding detection by security patrol. The mission began after midnight with Sarah's 6-person team entering the water from a small boat several miles from their target area. Each team member carried over 60 pounds of diving equipment, explosive devices, and emergency gear. The water temperature was 52 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to hurt motor skills and thinking if exposure lasted too long. Sarah served as the team's main navigator during the approach phase. Using only a compass and her ability to guess distance and direction underwater, she guided the team through the harbor's complex layout while avoiding shipping lanes and underwater obstacles. The navigation needed constant adjustments for current drift and the need to avoid surface vessels that could spot them. Midway through the approach, one of Sarah's teammates had equipment failure when his breathing device started to malfunction. The situation required immediate action in complete darkness 30 feet underwater, with enemy security boats patrolling overhead. Sarah quickly understood the problem and used emergency procedures she had practiced countless times. Using hand signals and shared equipment, Sarah managed her teammates' emergency while keeping the team moving toward their target. Her calm decision-making under pressure prevented what could have been a training death and showed the level of skill expected from SEAL operators in real situations. The team reached their target vessel with minutes to spare before the exercise time limit ran out. Sarah coordinated the placement of explosive charges, while other team members provided security and maintained underwater communication. The technical precision needed for this phase of the mission demanded perfect coordination among all team members. The exit phase proved even harder than the approach. Security patrols had increased their activity, and the team had to navigate back through the harbor while avoiding detection. Sarah's navigation skills were again crucial as she guided the team along a route that avoided patrol boats while accounting for changing current conditions. When the team surfaced at their exit point, they had successfully completed one of the most challenging exercises in the sea operations curricula. Instructors later admitted that Sarah's navigation and emergency response had been exceptional, setting a standard that future classes would struggle to match. The land warfare phase of training involved city combat situations that tested candidates' ability to operate in complex environments where telling friendly from hostile forces required split-second decision. These exercises took place in realistic city training facilities, where candidates faced simulated enemy forces, using advanced training ammunition and electronic monitoring systems. Sarah's analytical mind proved vital during urban combat training. Her ability to quickly assess tactical situations and find the best ways to act impressed instructors who had initially questioned whether women possessed the aggressive mindset needed for close-quarters combat. Her approach to tactical problems was careful but firm, showing that effective combat leadership could come in many forms. During one urban combat exercise, Sarah's unit was tasked with clearing a multi-story building held by simulated enemy forces. The scenario required coordinated movement through tight spaces, while maintaining communication and avoiding harm to civilians. Sarah was chosen as the team leader for this exercise, making her responsible for tactical decisions and team coordination. Her leadership style during the building clearance operation differed greatly from traditional aggressive approaches favored by many male candidates. Instead of relying on overwhelming force and quick movement, Sarah emphasized precision, communication, and adaptable tactics that lowered risk to her team while achieving mission goals. The building clearance began with careful scouting and planning. Sarah positioned team members to cover all possible escape routes, while setting up communication rules that would allow real-time coordination during the operation. Her thorough preparation was initially criticized by instructors who preferred more aggressive, immediate action methods. However, Sarah's careful approach proved very effective as the operation unfolded. Her team moved through the building systematically, clearing each room with precision while keeping constant communication and mutual support. When they met unexpected resistance, Sarah quickly changed her tactics without losing control of the overall situation. The exercise ended with Sarah's team successfully stopping all enemy forces while suffering no injuries and avoiding any harm to simulated civilians in the building. Post-exercise analysis showed that her team had achieved their goals faster and with less ammunition spent than teams using more common aggressive tactics. Instructor feedback emphasized that Sarah's approach showed advanced tactical thinking that would serve her well in real-world operations where political concerns and civilian safety often required more sophisticated approaches than simple brute force. Her performance during urban combat training established her reputation as a thoughtful and effective tactical leader. The final phase of SEAL training involved advanced weapons systems, explosives handling, and special scouting technique. These skills formed the technical basis that set SEAL operators apart from regular military forces. Sarah's academic background and attention to detail made her exceptionally effective during this technically demanding part of the program. Explosives training required candidates to master complex calculations involving blast effects, structural engineering, and timing mechanisms. Sarah's math background allowed her to excel in the theoretical aspects of explosives work, while her steady hands and careful approach made her one of the most dependable candidates during practical exercises involving live explosives. The final exercise for explosives training involved a simulated demolition mission where candidates had to calculate and place charges capable of destroying a reinforced concrete structure. The exercise required precise mathematical calculations to ensure that the structure would collapse in a specific direction without causing damage to nearby buildings. Sarah was given responsibility for the critical calculations that would decide charge placement and timing. Her work had to account for building design rules, explosive properties, weather conditions, and safety concerns for nearby personnel. Any mistake could lead to mission failure or simulated injury. Working through the night before the demolition exercise, Sarah double-checked her calculations using multiple math methods to ensure accuracy. Her thoroughness impressed even experienced explosives instructors who acknowledged that her attention to detail exceeded that of most candidates regardless of their backgrounds. The demolition exercise went exactly as Sarah had calculated. The structure collapsed in the planned direction within the predicted time frame, achieving complete destruction while avoiding any damage to surrounding buildings. The precision of her calculations and the successful execution of the demolition established her reputation as one of the most technically competent candidates in her class. As Sarah's SEAL training neared its end, she faced one last test that would decide if she would join the ranks of qualified SEAL operators. The final exercise was a full mission scenario that required combining all skills learned during the 6-month training program. The exercise would test her technical competence, leadership abilities, physical capabilities, and mental resilience in a realistic operational environment. The scenario involved a simulated hostage rescue mission in a foreign country where American diplomatic staff were being held by terrorist forces. Sarah's team was assigned to sneak into the target facility, stop hostile forces, rescue the hostages, and leave without causing international incidents that could harm American foreign policy interests. The mission planning phase allowed candidates to show their analytical and leadership abilities. Sarah was chosen to serve as the mission commander, making her responsible for overall tactical planning and execution. This responsibility was both an honor and a huge burden, as mission success or failure would primarily depend on her decisions. Sarah approached mission planning with the same careful precision that had marked her performance throughout training. She analyzed intelligence reports, studied facility layouts, assessed enemy capabilities, and developed multiple backup plans for various scenarios that might arise during execution. Her planning process impressed supervising instructors with its thoroughness and attention to detail. The infiltration phase of the mission required Sarah's team to penetrate heavily guarded territory and reach their target facility without detection. The approach route led through several miles of rough terrain during nighttime with limited visibility. Sarah's navigation skills and her team's coordination were crucial for staying hidden and reaching their objective on schedule. Midway through the infiltration, Sarah's team met an unexpected enemy patrol that threatened to expose their mission. The situation required immediate tactical decision-making that balanced mission objectives against team safety. Sarah quickly assessed the situation and developed a plan to neutralize the patrol while maintaining operational security. Her solution involved splitting her team into multiple elements that could surround the enemy patrol and neutralize them simultaneously. The coordination required precise timing and flawless execution, as any mistake could alert other enemy forces and doom the mission. Sarah's calm leadership and clear communication enabled her team to execute the plan perfectly. The assault phase of the mission required Sarah's team to break into the target facility and rescue hostages, while minimizing casualties and avoiding damage that could create diplomatic problems. The building layout forced the team to operate in tight spaces where traditional tactics had to be changed for the unique environment. Sarah's approach to the assault emphasized speed and precision rather than overwhelming force. Her team moved through the facility systematically, stopping opposition while protecting hostages and gathering intelligence that could be valuable for future operations. The execution showed advanced tactical abilities and mature judgment under pressure. The extraction phase tested Sarah's ability to change her plans when circumstances shifted unexpectedly. Enemy reinforcements arrived sooner than anticipated, forcing her team to modify their escape route while protecting rescued hostages. Sarah's quick thinking and effective communication enabled her team to reach their extraction point despite the complications. The mission concluded successfully with all hostages rescued, enemy forces neutralized, and Sarah's team extracted without casualty. Post-exercise analysis praised her leadership, tactical intelligence, and ability to adapt under pressure. Instructors acknowledged that her performance had met or exceeded standards expected from experienced SEAL operators. 3 weeks later, Sarah Martinez stood at attention in the graduation ceremony for her SEAL training class. Master Chief Stevens called her name as one of 12 candidates who had successfully completed the most demanding military training in the world. As she stepped forward to receive her SEAL Trident badge, she carried with her not only personal satisfaction, but also the knowledge that she had opened doors for other women who would follow. The ceremony was attended by Sarah's parents, who had traveled from Iowa to witness their daughter's historic achievement. Her father, who had once worried about her military ambitions, now watched with clear pride as she joined the ranks of America's most elite warriors. Her mother, who had supported her dreams from the beginning, understood that this moment represented the culmination of years of preparation and sacrifice. Sarah's achievement made national headlines once again, but this time the focus was on her successful completion of training rather than questions about whether women belonged in SEAL units. Her performance had answered those questions clearly, proving that ability and determination were the only qualifications that mattered for Special Operations service. In her brief remarks during the graduation ceremony, Sarah thanked her instructors, her fellow candidates, and her family for their support throughout the challenging training process. She acknowledged that her success belonged not only to her but to everyone who believed that opportunities should be based on merit rather than assumptions about gender limitation. 6 months later, Petty Officer First Class Sarah Martinez deployed with SEAL Team 7 on her first operational mission. The mission involved stopping illegal ships in the Mediterranean Sea, where her team was responsible for boarding and searching vessels suspected of transporting illegal weapons. Her technical skills and leadership abilities quickly earned respect from team members who judged her based on performance rather than gender. During one boarding operation, Sarah's team met armed resistance from smugglers trying to transport advanced weapon systems to terrorist groups. The gunfight that followed tested her combat skills and decision-making abilities in a real-world environment where mistakes could have fatal consequences. Sarah's performance during the fight was outstanding. Her accurate shooting stopped hostile threats, while her tactical leadership guided her team's response to the emergency situation. The successful completion of the mission and the seizure of dangerous weapons proved her training and showed her readiness for Special Operations service. The operation also included 16 new SEAL recruits who were taking part in their first live mission as part of their advanced training. These recruits had heard about Sarah's pioneering role in opening SEAL training to women, and many were curious about her capabilities and leadership style. During a brief break between mission phases, the 16 recruits gathered around Sarah as she checked equipment. Some tested her knowledge of weapon systems, others asked about her training experiences, and a few seemed doubtful whether she truly belonged among SEAL operators. One recruit made a comment suggesting that Sarah's presence on the team created unnecessary complications, and that women were fundamentally unsuited for Special Operations combat. The comment was meant to provoke a reaction that might show weaknesses or emotional instability. Instead of responding with anger or defensiveness, Sarah quietly put down her equipment and looked directly at the recruit who had made the comment. In a calm voice, she suggested that if he had questions about her qualifications, they could settle the matter through a practical demonstration of relevant skills. What happened next took less than 60 seconds and became legendary within SEAL. Sarah challenged the recruit to a comprehensive skills demonstration that included weapon assembly, tactical movement, medical procedures, and hand-to-hand combat techniques. The demonstration would settle any questions about her capabilities while providing valuable training for all the recruits. The weapon assembly part required both participants to take apart and put back together their main weapons, while blindfolded. Sarah completed the task in 38 seconds, 12 seconds faster than her challenger. Her familiarity with weapon systems and her careful approach to technical tasks gave her a clear advantage. The tactical movement exercise involved navigating through an obstacle course while carrying full combat equipment. Sarah's smaller size and superior fitness allowed her to complete the course with greater speed and efficiency than the larger recruit. Her time was competitive with the best performances recorded by any SEAL operator. The medical procedures test required both participants to diagnose and treat simulated combat injuries under time pressure. Sarah's extensive medical training and her ability to function effectively under stress enabled her to complete the medical scenarios more accurately and quickly than her challenger. The hand-to-hand combat demonstration was brief but decisive. Using techniques learned during her training and refined through months of operational experience, Sarah quickly neutralized her opponent using minimal force and maximum efficiency. The encounter demonstrated not only her physical capabilities, but also her professional restraint and tactical judgment. The entire demonstration lasted less than 1 minute and was witnessed by all 16 recruits along with several experienced SEAL operators. When it concluded, Sarah quietly resumed her equipment inspection without making any comments about the outcome. Her actions had spoken more clearly than any words could have conveyed. The recruit who had challenged Sarah approached her later that day to apologize for his comments and to express his respect for her capabilities. His attitude had been completely transformed by witnessing her professional competence and calm confidence. The other recruits had also gained a new appreciation for the standards of excellence that SEAL operators were expected to maintain. Master Chief Stevens, who had watched the demonstration from a distance, later commented that Sarah's response had been exemplary. Rather than letting emotion or pride guide her actions, she had used the situation as a training opportunity that benefited everyone involved. Her approach showed the maturity and professional judgment that separated exceptional leaders from merely competent operators. The incident became part of SEAL Team 7's informal history, retold as an example of how capability and character were the only qualifications that mattered for special operations service. Sarah's 60-second demonstration had proven definitively that she belonged among America's most elite warriors, and that gender was irrelevant when measuring military excellence. Years later, Sarah Martinez would continue to serve with distinction in increasingly responsible positions within Special Operations Forces. Her pioneering role in opening SEAL training to women would inspire future generations of female service members. But her lasting legacy would be defined by her operational achievements and her contribution to American national security. The young woman who had grown up in rural Iowa dreaming of military service had not only achieved her personal goals, but had also changed an entire military culture through her example of excellence, determination, and unwavering professionalism.